Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we have a college football team preview. It's the South Carolina Gamecocks out of the SEC Eastern Division. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today to break down the South Carolina Gamecocks is a gentleman that was a two-time All-American at Florida State University. He played 12 years in the National Football League with the Atlanta Falcons. He was a first-round draft pick in the 1981 NFL Draft. 25th selection overall, my man Bobby Butler. So please sit back and enjoy as we break down what the South Carolina Gamecocks are going to do in the upcoming 2020 season. So, Brother Butler, how do you see the South Carolina Gamecocks?
You know, this is going to be tough for them. I'm just going to be honest with you. Head coach Will Muschamp, you know, he's entering his fifth season, right? 4-8 last year, Vincent. You know, 2 years ago, they had a promising season. They went 9-4, but since 2017, they back it up 2018, 2019, right? They got 3 assistant coaches returning at the same positions. They've added, to their credit, they add defensive line coach Tracy Rocker. That's going to help them on the defensive side, and also linebackers coach Rod Wilson. That's going to help them on the defensive side. Here's the good news. They hired Mike Bobo as offensive coordinator this year. Welcome back, Mike Bobo, to the SEC. I think Mike Bobo going to get their passing game turned around. Also, like their quarterback, he's young. I mean, he was put in the fire last year, Vincent. You know, he's a freshman out there just trying to figure it out, right? In the baddest conference in the land, right? And so this guy last year, Ryan Helinski, started against Florida, top 10 team. Started against Georgia, top 10 team. Started against Clemson, top 10 team, right? And of course, started against Alabama. So he's got some experience, right? That should pay dividends this year with a new offensive coordinator in Mike Bobo. So he threw last year for over 2,300 yards, threw 11 touchdowns, had over 58.1% completion rate. I think he'll be pretty good when he's coached up with the year of experience under his belt. So I look for him to be a better quarterback this season. Then the running back room, they had a 3-headed monster last year. All of them are gone. But they have Kevin Harris, Deshaun Fenwick back. You know, they'll make good backup players, but they're putting all their hopes on their big stud freshman running back, Marshawn Lloyd. They got big hopes for him. They think he can be as good as George Rogers at South Carolina. That's how I'm with him. So they believe Lloyd can take them the distance. So it's gonna be good, right? And then the wide receiver room, you know, South Carolina has always had great wide receivers. I mean, if you look way back, I mean, they've always had some guys, man, right? And so last year they lost Brian Edwards, could be the most prolific receiver in their history, right? But Shi Smith, and then you got Josh Vann. Hey, listen, they're not gonna miss a beat. Remember, I always tell y'all now, wide receivers and running backs are a dime a dozen, right? As long as you got a quarterback that can be protected and deliver the ball, those guys will make plays. But here's what they got, I think, going for them as well, because every quarterback needs a great tight end game. You got to have that tight end, right? So Nick Muse returned, along with Colorado State transfer Adam Prentice. Now, I think they're going to add a little flavor to that wide receiver room, because he's going to have some guys that he can hit in some very short spaces and make some accurate throws. So I think they'll be good on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, see, here's the thing about defense in the SEC, Vincent. If you don't play defense in the SEC, you don't have a chance to do anything, right? Now, they got 6 of the top 8 tacklers back from last year. That's good news for them. Then you got Travaris Robinson, the DB coach, who's the new defensive coordinator. And you add Tracy Rocker, you add Rod Wilson to the staff on defense. Now, I know one thing about Tracy Rocker. He's going to have that defensive line singing. They're going to be singing. And I know Rod Wilson. They're going to be moving around with a different beat, right? They're going to have a different step, gliding their stride, dipping their hip. Welcome to the mothership. And so they're going to be moving with a different tempo, right? Because here's what their defense got to do, Vincent. they got to turn the ball over. They haven't been successful at turning the ball over, right? So they got to increase their turnover ratio on the defensive side of the ball. And you know what do that, right? You got to have 11 guys get to that ball, and you got to put hats on the football. That's how you turn the ball over. And a very physical play, and that ball will start to turn over. On the defensive line, they got defensive end 5-star Jordan Bush should come and do his thing this year, right? Aaron Sterling got playing experience last season, and he had 6 sacks, last year. So I look for him to take it to another level. Then you got D tackle Keir Thomas back from an injury, and remember this name. He's a 5-star recruit, Zach Pickens. He didn't do much last year, but should step up this year now that Javon Kinlaw has left for the NFL. I look for him to step in that role, looking to go to the NFL himself, right? The linebacker room, Ernest Jones was their leader last season in tackles. With Sherrod Green, they make a dynamic pair in their linebacking group. So how I see them in their front seven, Vincent, they're young. I think they're going to be good. And here's the thing. They got coaches that's going to push them. They will compete this year. I promise you, they will compete this year. Their secondary, they got some experience there. The corners, Jace Horn and Mr. Israel Makumo. He's a playmaker. You can put him anywhere on the defense, Vincent, and you're going to be calling his name. You can put him at left corner, right corner, strong safety, free safety, will linebacker, strong linebacker, and you will be calling his name because he's a baller, right? And then you got safety R.J. Roderick and nickel Jamie Robinson will add to this group. From a player standpoint, they're going to be okay. But here's what's got to happen to them. They got to get their mindset right. And I'm telling you, when you add Rod Wilson and you add Tracy Rocket to the staff, they're going to have their mind right. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they play. But remember, they got a tough schedule again. They are young. They are in the SEC, right? So it's going to be hard for them to go back to 9-4, in my opinion, right? So, I look at them, Vincent. I hate to say this, but 5-6. I got them going 5-6. And I believe this will be Will Muschamp's last season coaching at South Carolina. And I'm going to say this right now. The new head coach will be Mike Bobo in South Carolina after this season, And so, I wish them well, but they just got too much uphill to climb, man. And they play a tough schedule. And so it's going to be difficult for them.
I'm going to say this. I like Will Muschamp.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a tremendous defensive coordinator. When you look at college football, he's probably been one of the top 10 defensive coordinators in the history of this game. Mm-hmm. As far as the head coach, there's something left desirable. But what I really don't understand is why him being so fantastically gifted in coaching defense, why does he have problems offensively? Mm-hmm. He had him at Florida. Now he has the same situation at South Carolina.
Right.
I think South Carolina made the right decision in bringing him back and giving him one more year.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's very simple to me. He brought in one of his best friends, and Mike Bobo. They simply going to change the whole philosophy of the offense. And when you look at South Carolina and you go back to when they won the SEC East Division, they brought in a freshman running back by the name of Marcus Lattimore. And on that team, they had Alshon Jeffries and they had Stephon Gilmore in 2010. That team beat Alabama. They got to the SEC championship game under Steve Spurrier. They got blown out by Auburn. But if you look what they did that year, they rolled the young man out of South Carolina, Marcus Lattimore, like Earl Campbell was carrying the rock at the University of Texas his Heisman Trophy season. What I mean by that, Brother Butler, Mr. Marshawn Lloyd going to get over at least 200 carries. Mm-hmm. True freshman. So Mike Bobo and them are going to play very physical football offensively. Right. And the thing I think, true enough, South Carolina has a real tough schedule. Man, Texas A&M, you got Tennessee, you got Georgia, you got LSU, you got Florida. You got some heavy hitters on your schedule. But the thing about it, what I like about South Carolina, that I think can say we're a must-champ season. I'm looking at them to be a 6-5 and 7-4 football team. They're very strong on both line of scrimmages.
Mm-hmm.
They're a very, very strong football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And their defense is going to have to carry them some this year. But they lost Javon Kinlaw, but, man, I like Aaron Sterling. The young man out of Tucker, Georgia, is a 4-year senior, has played a lot of football over there. You brought up Mr. Pickens, a 5-star. Didn't do much last year, but one thing you know this, Brother Butler, when you got talent around you, it's
That's
something
right.
about you are able to perform, because now Mr. Pickens is going to be blocked more one-on-one. He's not going to be the focal point because they got the most talented D lineman in the country last year. And he was out of their backyard, Mr. Jordan Birch.
Yeah,
LSU wanted him so bad that he had to hold up and wait till the final day before he really decided to go South Carolina. And this young man's skill level is like the young man who's right now in the NFL trying to get paid, who don't have a team. I'm going to put out some initials, JC. His last name is the Clown. They say his skill level is just as good as that.
Wow.
And then when you look at South Carolina collectively as a defense, I like Ernest Jones. He's going to play at the next level and going to be a high draft pick. And I'm not even talking about the secondary. They said coming into the season, they're going to average about, 40 or 50 scouts, and they coming to see them 2 corners.
Wow.
And the young man, I can't pronounce his last name. You just pronounced it good. I'm going to call him I.M. 6'4", 206 pounds, playing corner is unreal. And the other young man, I know his father's got to be proud because he used to do a lot of talking back in the day. And you should know him personally, Mr. Butler, because you played with the Falcons. Joe Horn's son is a very good football player, man, the cornerback position. The younger Horn, I consider him maybe the top corner in the country. So South Carolina, to me, is going to have a top 10 defense in the country, in the best conference. So when you look at him overall, and I'm rooting for Will Muschamp because I like the young man. I always respect his coaching abilities. I think he's one of the best coaches in the game from a defensive standpoint. Offensively, they're going to have to be able to run the football. And Marshawn Lloyd, if he goes over 1,000 yards, get, I say, between 1,200 to 1,300 and be one of the top freshmen in the country, I think South Carolina is going to have a very successful season.
Right.
Final word, Brother Butler, on the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I think you said it well. It's just real tough in that division, right? And they're young. I think they got some coaches that can coach them up now. I really do. That maybe can stir the pot a little bit, right? It's going to be tough for them, right? I don't wish Will Muschamp any harm. I'm just looking at it, the way I'm seeing it. It's going to be tough for them, right? So I pray that they come up and play their best ball this season.
That being said, if you like the video today, please come and share it. We are 100 Yards Football. I'm Vincent Turner, my man Bobby Butler. Where you from again, sir? What's the area code?
The 561.
The greatest football that Brother Butler says played down in South Florida. I'm from a beautiful hometown right there on the Mississippi River, the 901 Memphis, Tennessee. We like to say thank you. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We are 100 Yards of Football. See you next week here on the 100 Yards of Football.